Back in, everybody. We are thrilled on this Thursday to have our next guest checking in. He's been on the show before, but it never, ever gets old when you have a Pro Football Hall of Famer, a Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Famer, a Clemson Hall of Famer, a Raines High School Hall of Famer in Jacksonville, Florida, the one and only Weapon X, Wolverine, Brian freaking Dawkins. B-Dog.
Yeah.
That was good, man. That was good. Yeah,
what's happening, gentlemen? Y'all doing?
Brian, thrilled to be hanging out with you, man. As always, it's our pleasure. So we're very excited. And Brian, first off, welcome to the show, man. How you doing? How's life?
Absolutely blessed. Absolutely blessed. Can't complain. Wouldn't if I had something to complain about. But no, I'm blessed, brother. Absolutely
good.
Blessed.
All right. So these things are so cool, man. I want people to check this out before we get to everything else. And we'll talk Eagles and all that with Brian, but talk to me, man, about these Relentless trading cards, Brian, because these things are absolutely awesome. Okay. Check this out. All right. Look at that. And look at the artwork there. So the art, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. This is Jordan Spector.
Jordan Spector, correct. Yes.
Yeah, who did the sweet artwork here. You work the X in there. You got the Immortals t-shirt on. I see that. And what's really cool is there's all this symbolism surrounding it, right, Brian? Like 96, 61, 18, 13, 9. All of that is symbolic. Like, for example, Brian's drafted in 96. There's a total of 96 green foil and rainbow foil edition cards for the entire 2020 set. 61, you were the 61st. First of all, that's a joke. You were the 61st pick. But anyway, he was the 61st overall pick. There's 61 authentic autographs in the card set. How about 18? Brian was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2018. There's 18 base foil cards autographed by B-Dog. 13, he played 13 years for the Birds. There's 13 rainbow foil cards autographed by Dawkins. And lastly, 9. That's the number of Pro Bowls that Brian made. Yeah, 9.
Legendary, man. Cards. Legendary.
Brian, that is awesome that you worked all those numbers in, man.
And I have to give a lot of credit to Jordan on this one. Like, this is basically his dream child. This is his baby that he brought to life, right? He had it in his mind of to do something specific, and he asked me of probably what was probably the most iconic image that I can think of, and it was that particular play against the Giants, and that was a lot of reasons why I did that at that time, but ultimately it was a play that really spoke to the theme of the card. It's Immortals, yes, but this card particularly is relentless. So it was relentless effort to be able to do what I needed to do to have the success that I had in my life and then having in life now. So again, a lot of this have to give credit to Jordan for putting the vision from an imaginary place to putting it to now we're able to see his quality work.
Mr. Dawkins, first and foremost, super honor. It's a pleasure to to be in your presence, man. Hell of a career you've been able to provide to the city and for your family, man. As you mentioned, this has been a dream for for Mr. Spector. I'm curious, what led to your relationship with the local Philly artists? Spector Sports, Spector Sports Art, and just the idea for a trading card. How did this idea even come about?
So met Jordan a while back through another friend of mine, Pat Waters, and I love first of all the person that he is, and then the artwork that he does. It spoke to me. Like, I see energy coming off of his artwork, and so he blessed to draw another picture of me, a big poster that I have actually in my home here. And I love that. And so once again, I trust his artistic eye of how he creates things. And so again, he wanted to do something even further into now retirement to bring something to light that is different, is unique. Like was mentioned earlier, there's only 2,020 of these cards available, different colors, different shades, because of the different numbers that we just talked about. And so that this is a truly inclusive thing, exclusive thing, excuse me, that this project and its income will go towards blessing the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation.
And tell people what that is, Brian, who may not be familiar with what that benefits.
Yeah, so ultimately, long story short, we're going to bless single parents with some of the resources that they need to help, especially the kid in the household, the child in the household, so that they can have transformational moments, so that they can come up with a vision of life that's outside of their community that they can chase. That's something that I was blessed to have somebody do for me, and I want to provide those. We want to provide those same things for young kids, but also we have cerebral wellness packages for high schools. We have 25 schools in Philadelphia doing our cerebral wellness packages, and about 10 in Jacksonville doing. So it's basically telling them the difference, what's the stigma behind mental health, what it is and what it's not, the coping mechanisms, how to deal with life's ups and downs, right? How to recognize when you need help, how to recognize and have the conversations with a friend that they need help, and then ultimately how to get the help. Because ultimately it's okay not to be okay, but it's really not okay to stay not okay. And that's where we get into trouble. So want to help them be able to navigate life better by doing those things.
So, and I applaud you, by the way. You've been very open with some of the struggles you've had. And I think it's awesome, too. Lane Johnson is constantly talking on it, putting messages out there on social media, trying to encourage people. We are so much better off now that it's not some like dirty little secret that people couldn't talk about, because we all go through it, man.
Yeah. I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. Well
are there any further projects that you and Spectre are working on that can potentially help your foundation organization?
Yeah, so I mean, we're always in the dreaming state of how to further get Spectre's art out there, because he is a very gifted young man. But also then how we can continue to bless the foundation with resources so that we can continue to fund the different programming. I just mentioned a couple of things. We have a mentoring program we're starting this year. We have a young ambassadors program that we're starting in high schools, a high school this year. So like there's a lot of things that we're going to do, and we're in the process of doing, that we're needing these fundings. So to your point, yes, we're always coming up with different ways to continue to fund this project. Our projects.
Where can people go, Brian, to check out the information or to contribute or whatever? Where can they go?
You go to BrianDawkins.com, and you'll be able to read up a little bit more on the pillars of how I see things. Communication is one of them, being able to communicate. So the specific things that I believe and I've learned in my life that I believe that can help other individuals through the situations that they grow through in life, by changing mindsets and by, again, giving assistance to those who are looking or trying to come up. They just don't have the resources available to help them navigate the different spaces.
Excellent, man. And we're seeing some of those pillars, core values, that kind of stuff. Tone's got it up there on screen that people can check it out. So BrianDawkins.com. Good stuff, Brian. First of all, I see that you haven't been missing your trips to the gym by the looks of the arms.
It's the shirt, brother. It's the shirt.
You got a schmedium on right now to try to show off the guns? I get it.
No, it's like, seriously, Rob, it's a lifestyle, brother. Like I didn't work out when I was working out as a player because I had to. Yeah, I love to work out. I'm someone that's constantly chasing the good sore. If I say that, you know what that means?
Yeah.
I'm constantly chasing the good sore. It's like when you haven't worked out in a while and you work out real hard one time, you're sore all over the place. I love that feeling. Why? Because on the other side of that good sore is growth. So that's how I see my working out. And also is one of the best things that I do for my cerebral wellness is workout. One of the best things I do for it.
That's awesome.
One of the things that stood out to me, Mr. Dawkins, is your core values, right? Communication, self-awareness, drive, passion, discipline, education, accountability. I'm curious to know, can you speak on what those words mean to you and how you've applied them to not only your foundation, but you've applied them to your career and your life, not only as a professional, but as a father and as a leader?
So if you put those back up,
yes, sir.
Can you put them back up? Each one of those have like how that has blessed me, how it speaks to me, how I then have equated me when I was younger, and people wouldn't know this unless I tell you. I stuttered when I grew up. I was a bad stutterer. And so I stuttered, and I thought people would laugh at me. So I did not communicate a whole lot. Why? Because I stuttered. But I didn't have a bad stuttering problem. I just was embarrassed by the fact that I did stutter, which made me stutter more, right? So communication. So that made me more of an introvert. And so I was not able to then articulate myself in a lot of instances of getting people to understand what it is and where I'm coming from, because I would not talk. Because of that. So communication is truly something that we all need to make sure that we understand how to communicate. If I have ideas and thoughts that I can't communicate to you two right now, how would you know what my foundation is about? How would you know about anything? You see what I'm saying? So so self-awareness is being able to check inside, check on you. I check on me constantly. I'm constantly looking in on me, what's going on with me, asking myself specific questions. And then I answer myself of those questions I ask to make sure that I'm all right. My drive is something that, like, again, my drive is one of the things that have helped me become who I've become and accomplish what I've accomplished in my life. My passion, dude, listen, passion is how I've overcome a lot of things. I've constantly persevered with the passion and the drive, the energy, and the desire to have success. And then discipline, the ultimate, I think, definition of how I've achieved what I've achieved in my life is discipline. Me being a disciplined cat, like you talked about my working out. I don't work out because I have to. No, I'm disciplined. When I say I'm going to work out, doggone, I'm going to do it. If I give you my word, doggone it, I'm going to do it. So again, these are just certain aspects. I'm not going to go through all of it. We don't have the time. But the point is, if you go onto this site and you read, that's me talking about what discipline is. That's me talking about what education is for me. That's me talking about what accountability is for me.
And also, by the way, respect is not given. It is earned, doggone it. Yes. We know that much. All right, Brian, have you had the opportunity to keep an eye on your Birds, man, so far with the 8-1 start? What are your thoughts on what's going on now with them at the bye?
Absolutely. I absolutely have checking them. I've been checking them out. And I'm a little weird in this. I know. I get it. So I love the fact that they are a ugly 8-1. I love it. I love it. Now people are, well, win is a win, and it is. I'm not taking any away from any of the wins. My point is that you're often able to have tough conversations with people about changing things when there's a loss. But when it's a so-called ugly victory and you see things on film that are glaring, now as a coach, I have that ammunition to point that thing out, to pause it, to circle it, you know what I mean, to put the highlighter on it, circle the dude who's making dumb decisions, hurting the team, hurting our chances to potentially win in the playoffs. Now I can be able to have those tougher conversations in those situations. Now you should be able to have them anytime, right? But as Charles Barkley said, I heard him say one time, he said that success/winning is the greatest deodorant there is, right? It covers up a whole bunch of stinky stuff, right? And that's what winning can do in certain instances. But once again, when you have these ugly wins and you have to find a way here, you have to find a way there, those are correctable mistakes that need to be corrected. But also you're building perseverance for the playoffs, because you're going to need that mentality to win ugly games, so to speak, in the playoffs.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Mr. Dawkins, because I've always looked at it like this, right? In the previous season, in 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles were handling their business pretty early, right? They were kind of beating mostly everyone by double digits. Now in this 2023 season, there's a lot much more pressure. You're coming off of a 3-point Super Bowl loss. And like you said, everyone's kind of looking at the Philadelphia Eagles right now. And it's like, yeah, they're 8-1, but yeah, they're winning. But, there are a lot of buts attached to.
I love it. I love it.
Exactly. And I love that too, right? So in my mind, I've always looked at it like this. Because they're going through these trials and tribulations, because they're going through so much turbulence at this point in the season and they're winning, wouldn't that naturally put them in a better position in terms of being ready for any moment, any situation, any circumstance in the playoffs? I know you touched on it briefly, but can you just speak on that and kind of correlate it to when you used to play, right? Going through those rough times and how it prepares you for the tougher times ahead.
So naturally, no, it's still a choice. Like you can turn off that part of your brain that says, no, you need to still get better, by saying, we're 8-1. Come on, man. Like, whatever. Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's a choice. You have to make a choice to consistently look at the film and be brutally honest with what you see. That was my standard for myself. Like that's why I didn't worry about people booing me. I didn't worry about anybody talking about me in the paper, because oftentimes what they saw in the paper wasn't even close to what I was looking at myself. That was a bad angle right there. That was a bad step. Like I'm very hard on myself, so my standard is way higher than anybody else. But that's not everybody. Other individuals, again, you have to allow yourself to be one of those pillars was accountability, right? So you have to be willingly coachable by your coaches and sometimes your teammates to help you be the best that you can be, right? But ultimately, if you do what you're supposed to do now, you will build the resources, the reservoir in your mental makeup, to be honest with you, fortitude and the like, so that when you get to the playoffs, your heart is not beating any faster. Why? Because you've had so many trials that you've had to go through during the regular season, right? And then in practices, hopefully they're doing, competition good versus good. So again, when you practice in those conditions, you condition yourself to play better in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. Again, your heart is not beating faster than it usually is. Why? Because I've been used to these conditions the whole season.
And Brian, I think that's a great segue into what they have coming up right out of the bye, man. I mean, you look at that. You get Andy Reid again at their place. You got to play Seattle. You got to go to Dallas. You got Buffalo. You got San Fran. I mean, if you're not playoff and tournament tested after that, I don't know what would do it for you.
And that's a beautiful, beautiful beautiful time to have this in this season for this team. So when you look at that as a fan, you're like, oh my goodness, that's a gauntlet. Oh my goodness. But as a player, we've learned that you don't look at every team. The other teams don't matter. The only team that matters right now is Kansas City.
Yeah.
And when you look at Kansas City, they have strengths, they have weaknesses. So we're going to try to explore, look at those weaknesses and see if we can go after, as Hollis, as Tank would call them, we're going to go after the cupcake. Like, we're going to go after whatever it is that person is that glaring weakness on whatever it is, the phase that we're on. So my point is that you don't look at all of those games. You look at one game at a time,
right? And
the weaknesses of that team. And with the team that we have in Philadelphia, them growing, them constantly getting better, you'll be able to then go into that game knowing that my strengths can make their weaknesses be exposed, and we can come out with a victory that game. And then when that game is done, then you move on to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Speaking of strengths and weaknesses, right? I'm a strong believer that it's important for not only teams, but people to always self-scout, right? Always look at yourself and figure out, what are you doing well? What are you not doing well? What can you improve on? What can you do more of, less of, so on and so forth, right? What do you think should be the main priority for these Philadelphia Eagles as they enter the bye week? We know the pass defense hasn't really been up to par. We know turnovers have kind of been an issue over the past several weeks. What do you think should be the main priority for these Philadelphia Eagles, as they enter this bye week and try to get healthy again and try to focus on the next opponent?
Well, that's it. That's it. You said it. Self-scouting. You have to self-scout. You have to look at what it is you're doing as an offense that you're having success with, right? And those are areas that you are falling short when it comes to whatever it is, third and short, specific situations and keys. As a player individually, yes, it's the same exact thing. Self-evaluation. Again, I'm extremely hard on myself. I was extremely hard on myself. I did not want to give myself ways to say, oh, that's all right. No, because I don't want to be all right. I was not looking for all right. I was looking for greatness. So I was consistently hard on myself. So I wanted my coaches to show me what it is I needed to get better in, to do better, so that I can go practice those things, so that I won't be a repeat offender from the things that I did previously. So the mindset of this team should be that. You be brutally honest with yourself. Don't look at yourself at being 8-1. If you need to, look at yourself at being 500 right now, and you need this next game. If you don't have this next game, you won't make the playoffs. Look at however you need to put it in, formulate it in your mind to have some, like, not desperation. You never want to be desperate, but have some what's the word I'm looking for?
Motivation.
Motivation, even stronger than that. Motivation came up, but even more than that. I don't want just to be motivated. Motivation comes and goes, right? Yeah. I don't want to be just motivated. Yeah. I want it to be more of an internal thing, an inspiration, like something from inside of you that says
a deeper dedication,
drive.
Yeah, I gotta be my absolute best for this next game. I got to. I mean, whatever it takes, I gotta be better than I was that first half of the season, right? So if everybody's looking at themselves in that light,
yeah, big deal. I'm curious, Brian. Have you had a chance to just like hone in on the secondary? It feels like it's been a bit of a struggle pass defense wise.
Very much so.
You know, and they've had injuries. In fairness, they lost Devontae Maddox in the slot. That's a big deal. It seems like Bradbury may be going through some tough times. Slay. They're also trying a lot of young guys out. And Sidney Brown has a little bit of that dog in him, but he's young, right? So what do you think about what's happening with the secondary?
And well, that's the thing. Once you lose Maddox like that early in the year, and he was if you look at his performance when he's healthy, he's one of the better, if not top 5 best cornerbacks, slot cover corners in the game of football, right? He can tackle as well, so he's a complete individual in that slot. And so when you lose him, now you're trying to piece guys and place guys in a space that they're not necessarily, that's not their forte. They can possibly do it, but that's not their forte, right? So Bradbury's a more lengthy corner. You don't usually see more taller, rangy guys in the slot. The only guy that I can think of that did it, well, actually Bobby did it. Bobby Taylor,
yeah, Bobby had good size
back in the day, right? But you usually don't see that, right? Because you have a lot of times you have quicker, shiftier guys in the slot, so you want to kind of match that speed and quickness with them. So that's a tough adjustment. I guess people think just because you can cover on the outside that you can cover on the inside, and that is not the case. It's an absolute different beast in that slot. So with the young guys coming in, and then you lose your starting young safety Blankenship for different parts of games. He's been in and out of the lineup, right? Yeah. So what I see in the secondary, to be honest with you, I see a whole lot of this. Before plays,
right?
After plays,
yep,
right. So that means communication.
Yep,
communication is not where it needs to be right now. Needs to be some communication. Matter of fact, on the touchdown that they gave up to Dallas, I forgot.
Was not the Lamb?
Was it Tolbert? The Tolbert?
Tolbert maybe,
or the Turpin touchdown.
I can't remember which one it was, but before the play, I saw this.
Yep.
And then they did whatever it is they did. And after the play, I saw the two safeties come together doing this again, right? That's not a good sign. So that means that the communication is not where it needs to be. So, again, it's an ugly 8-1. There's some things to be fixed. And communication is one of them, in my opinion. Communication.
Yeah.
The Eagles traded for a safety at the trade deadline, and Kevin Byard, former All-Pro, former Pro Bowl guy from Tennessee, a guy who tends to hold himself very accountable, known as the mayor in Tennessee. He brings his talents to Philadelphia. What were your thoughts on that move, and what's your take on his game throughout his career and now his time in Philadelphia?
He's been one of the better safeties in the game of football for a long time now. His name was always put up there with the best in the game. If you know anything about safety play, right? So now he's bringing those skill sets to a team that potentially can move into the playoffs and beyond, right? But it's going to take him a little bit. And actually, this bye week is coming at a good time for him as well. So he can get more acclimated to the scheme so that he's not thinking on the field. One thing you do not want to do anywhere on the field is think. You want to be able to respond and react and anticipate is what you want to do. Because when you're thinking, your natural abilities can't be seen because you become more robotic. But if I can anticipate things, if I know that this is going to happen, then I know communication-wise, what my teammate is doing, what this dude is next to me is doing, right? I can anticipate plays. So now I can allow my film study to stand in and step in for me to jump some stuff, step in front of some balls, and not play everything safe. Right now, to be honest with you, looking at him, he's doing a lot of things to keep things safe, right? Just playing deep, not giving up anything, stuff like that, not disguising. I don't see a whole bunch of disguising. And those are things that you have to do better going into the playoffs. So disguising, knowing what you need to do to allow his athleticism, the things that he does well, to become the forefront of what we see going forward.
Brian, last one from me. Nick Sirianni is a very emotional coach. He wears his heart on his sleeve on the sidelines. You see it, whether it's with his players, if the Eagles get a touchdown, a first down, the officials. Is that a guy that you would enjoy playing for? Is he a guy that's very relatable to you because you were a guy who also wore your emotions on your sleeve?
I don't need a coach to relate to me.
Okay.
I don't need you to relate. Yeah, I don't. So it has nothing. It's not an external thing. It's not an external thing for me.
Okay.
It's an internal thing for me. This is who I am. This is what I do. Early in my career, maybe I would have been paying attention to things more outside of me. But now where I am and where I got to in my career as year 2 turned to year 3 and so forth and so on. No, it was literally an internal thing. This is who I am. This is what I do. I'm not necessarily vibing with you if you are as animated as I am. Or if you're not as animated as I don't necessarily vibe with you more. None of that I won't say matters. But for me, it didn't add to me. That I mean, when I saw Andy get hyped, it got you a little hype, right?
Right.
He was stoic sometimes. So when you see him pumping his fist and stuff like that, you forget a little juice from it. But I don't need to look over there and see if Andy's hype is for me to get hyped. Or is he relating to me crawling on the ground? No, Andy can't relate to me crawling on the ground, right? So that's
Oh man, final one for me, Mr. Dawkins. Jalen Hurts, he had a tremendous 2022 season. Was an MVP finalist. Took his team to the Super Bowl, fell short, but he came back this season, had some hiccups out the gate with some turnovers, but still, he's been considered to be one of the best quarterbacks in the clutch, right? He's been one of the best quarterbacks in terms of playing from behind, and when his team's tied, he's been arguably the most accurate, the most productive quarterback when it comes from playing from behind. What's been your thoughts on Jalen Hurts' game this season? Where do you think he could probably make some improvements? What parts of his game do you love right now? And how far do you think this guy can go in terms of his overall development?
I mean, I've said this, and I've been on the record when he was in the battle with Carlson way back in the day. I loved his past. I love what he's learned about himself and what he's presented about himself from a young age, as far as him and his composure.
Okay,
and that's what you're speaking about: composure, being able to be composed when everything around you is going haywire, when everybody's around you is all hype and animated, right? To be able to calm your nerves, still be intense, because you can look in his eyes and see he's intense. But intensity does not have to be voiced. I don't have to be yelling and all those things to show that I'm intense, right? But his ability to bring all of that down and then focus in and dial in when he truly, truly needs to, that's a mark of an individual that you can trust in those situations. And that's what you want. You want a guy that you can trust in those situations, because guess what? You're going to get a lot in the playoffs, those type of situations, right? So if you handle your business the right way, the regular season is supposed to prepare you for the playoff run. If you have that opportunity, if you do things a specific way, the right way during the regular season, when I talked about it earlier, you're putting yourself in those situations that have you calm yourself, learn to calm yourself and dial in and be detailed, so that you're playing your absolute best football towards the end of the year. Again, I'm happy they're not playing their best football now. Matter of fact, if they're playing their best football now, I would be a little bit, oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be playing your best football right now.
You don't want to be peaking now.
You do not want to be peaking now. You want to be peaking at the end of the season. Yeah. And so going back to Jalen, like you have a leader that's going to be here. He's going to be that for a while. He's going to be that type of individual to be able to calm the ship, make the right throws, make the right decisions. And this is coming at a good time for him to get healthy. We need him to be 100% healthy for this next push into this postseason.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
All right, Brian, let's remind everybody again, you got to check out the trading cards. Tone, if you could throw them up there again, the incredible artwork, SpecterSportsArt.com. These are absolutely awesome. And there's a limited edition, right, Brian? I mean, you got to get on it quick, man, because these things are going to go really, really fast. And you can see how amazing. Look at the detail there. Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Those things are amazing. You know, it's funny, real quick before you get out of here, Mr. Dawkins. I had the opportunity to meet you a couple years back at the Maxwell Awards. And you were as humble as you always are, modest, and just a great dude as you always been. Well, one of the first things I said to you was I asked, how did you develop that alter ego, the Weapon X alter ego, right? And the first thing you said to me was, "Oh, it's still there. It's still there." And talking to you now for a second time, I could just feel it. I can see that, you still have that dog, and you still got that energy in you that's never going to go away. So, man, just, one thing I will say, just keep being you, man. The city will always love you. The city will always hold you dear, man. Best believe you giving myself, my family, a lot of intense memories, man, that we hold on to this day.
No, thank you. Again, that's that's me, brother. Like I've taken myself from playing the game of football, and I've taken me out of the game. Football was not it was not who I was, it's what I did, right? So I applied me to football. Now I'm applying me to my foundation. I'm applying me to my business. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's a blessing.
Absolutely
awesome. And you can check out everything, BrianDawkins.com, and of course the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation, and the great artwork, artist Jordan Spector. It's SpectorSportsArt.com. Get on it. Trust me, you don't want to wait on this. These things are rare, and they're going to be unbelievable collector items. Brian, great job, man. Always great catching up with you. We wish you all the best, my friend, in everything in life, every endeavor. And good luck with this for sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all be blessed.
All right, take care.
Sir.
Great Brian Dawkins. Yeah, awesome, Tone, hanging out with B-Doc right there, man.
Definitely, man.
Truly one of a kind, right there. Truly one of a kind.
Absolutely, once in a lifetime opportunity. I call it.
There you go. I agree with you. 100%. All right, let's come back. Let's recap some of the things that we talked to Brian about, specifically about the Eagles. It was interesting. Some of the things he said about the secondary communication, not peaking too soon. Let's hit all of that when we come back. We'll do that. All right. He's Tone DeShields. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I'm going to tell you right now about Pro Action Restoration. In fact, I had the guys out the last 2 days to the house from Pro Action Restoration. I had a flood. I had a flood from my upstairs basement that went into my downstairs basement. And of course, who did I call? Pro Action Restoration. And they came out. And actually, you may be able to faintly hear the fans in the background. That's why I'm not at my usual studio location, because the flooding went into my basement where my studio is. But I had the guys come out today, and they are beginning the process of the work that needs to be done for where the flood occurred. They are running fans. They put some anti-mold stuff there, and then they're going to do some restoration project that I need done in my basement. But there is nobody better to turn to than Pro Action Restoration. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. So any time of day you have a problem, you can reach out to them, whether it's water damage, whether it's mold remediation, you went through a fire, you name it, they can handle it. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. And I know this for a fact. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company, because they are working in conjunction with mine. Again, water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's Pro Action